you co-authored another book called Invading the Sacred with Sri. I think there were a few other authors also on the same project. Am I right? Because I remember reading this. Sankrant Sanu and I don't know if I'm mistaken here.
Yes, it was Krishna Ramaswamy and Antonio de Nicolas were the other co-editors, yes. But then it included writings from Sankrant Sanu and several others.
Yes,
yes. Yes.
It was a phenomenal work, and actually, something that required a lot of time, and because there's so much information in that book about the kind of misrepresentation that has been going on in the Western, especially American academia, where Hinduism is concerned. So I think there were specific studies which were presented in the book, if I remember correctly. I read it a while ago. Would you care to share, for the benefit of our viewers, just some of your findings during the course of writing this book? Stuff that you probably already knew because courtesy the fact that you yourself grew up in America and part of the academic ecosystem. But for the sake of the viewers, what are some of the things that you would, some of the findings, some of the things that you learned while you were writing the book about just the kind and the extent of misrepresentation that goes on in Western academia where Indology, so-called Indology, is concerned?
Yes, I remember the first time I read the writings of Sri Rajiv Malhotra. So he was really kind of the driving force behind that book and a lot of that work. And I was in law school, and he was writing on Sulekha.com, which was a web portal in those days. And he had written a series of articles, which he called like Risa Leela, which was about the writings of Doniger and others. And what he was able to do was to systematize and present in a holistic way what was actually happening, what was the cause behind things that I'd experienced individually or anecdotally, but I didn't have like a superstructure to put that into. So I mentioned some of the things I experienced in high school. In college, that had gotten worse. So taking classes on Hinduism or Indian history, which were just taught with a very blatant Marxist, angle. And, there were comments about the Ramayana being nothing but about like the Aryan invasion and the, the destruction of tribals and things like that. But that wasn't even, it's one thing if you present the Ramayana, like, this is what it was, this is how Valmiki wrote it, this is how it's been interpreted and understood by Indians and Hindus. And then here's like an alternative take. That's one thing, but that was just presented as the dominant narrative, like this is what it is. So there were things like that. I wanted to start a Hindu Students Association in my college, and like there was resistance to doing that. Just very, very, things like that. But like to me, there was just like, okay, these are things I'm experiencing. And when I read what Rajiv ji had written, it was like, oh no, that's not what it is. Like there's this system, there's this academic system where you have people who maybe they start with this research because they do actually have an appreciation for something Hindu or India, something that draws them. But then something in them, flips and they distort or they misrepresent, or they just want to focus on the very like eroticized Freudian types of analyses because of their own whatever issues that they have. And then how this becomes a pattern, because there's like a handful of professors doing it, but then they all support and cite each other. And then when they have like doctoral students, they want to, they're also filtering them based on their own biases and things like that. And so you just have this cabal basically of academics who control not only how Hinduism is being studied, researched, written about in academia, but then how that informs popular understanding through like media depictions and things like that. Because if there's an article in the media, they're going to go to these experts. When you go to the bookstores, like I said, only their works are there in the bookshelves. And so how this is just dominating the discourse, and then that gets re-imported back to India. And he was explaining this in a very systematic way. So like producers of knowledge, distribution, and how we're consuming it. And I thought, wow, so it's not just me. Like it's not me. The problem is, the system. And many of us were kind of on this path of discovery, really spurred a lot by the work that he had done. And I think there was a period of years there was just like a groundswell of community, awakening, activism, responsiveness to this. I'm taking this to textbooks that were used in school, and all of that. And this book was meant to just capture that movement. So capture what these professors had written, what the response was, how it was going. What was eye-opening for me is just how pervasive this was, and how it all kind of went back to this very small coterie of people. And then it also taught me to just be much less naive about things. So, I think we have this as Indians a lot, where we tend to just expect the system to be fair, or so a lot of times there's this indignation when things aren't working the way we imagine them to work. And I think we have to take the time to understand, how systems operate, like the politics of things, the economics of things, what's the agenda of the other party or the other person. Not everything should be taken at face value. So this kind of critical thinking. And that was very important. It's important as a Hindu, but it's just important as an adult, because you find this everywhere. And then it also, this need for us to take back control of the representation of Hinduism. So the sense of responsibility and the sense of duty that each and every one of us have. Those were some of the main things that I had gotten out of it. I know many people said that reading the book is a very tough read, because there are extended passages or just quoting from what the scholars have said, and it's just very painful to read.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.